in the fall, Adam is really the first feminist. He's the first egalitarian, and these are So these are the two competing worldviews. When we look at humanity, do we see all people as interchangeable, one with another? That is, there's no distinction between being man and woman. There's no roles assigned based on biology. That's egalitarianism. So
interchangeability is that just a good concise?
Okay. Not just like an equality between the sexes, like both made in the image of God, both bearing a dignity, having been made by a creator. There's an equality to that, right? All loved, men and women loved by Jesus equally. Salvation available to all. There is an equality in that regard, but egalitarianism as a worldview sees men and women as sort of interchangeable cogs in the same machine. And then the inverse to that, the worldview we see in the account of creation in Genesis 1 and 2, is complementarity. So, complement with an E, like two angles that add up to 90 degrees. When you put them together, they are more than just the sum of their parts, more than just the sum of two people brought into relationship, right? So 90-degree angle is the strongest angle that you could have. And so two angles that together add up to 90 are much stronger than if you added two angles that are not complementary, right? So when God makes man and woman in his image, after his likeness, the first command he gives to them is be fruitful and multiply. And that only can happen in their complementarity, in their coming together, where they're not interchangeable, where you can't be fruitful and multiply if you have two Adams or two Eves. But it's not just sexual complementarity, which, I mean, we understand at a very basic level sexual complementarity, right? So you go to the hardware store and you're gonna, buy some pipe fittings for your house. You're gonna buy, female fittings into which you can put a male pipe. So there are some dimensions of society where we haven't completely lost our minds yet. I've said before, there's no same-sex marriage in the pipe fitters union. Some remnants of sanity. Yeah. And then in Genesis 2, that we get a further window into this complementarity in even the way in which Adam and Eve are created. So Adam made out of the dirt, and then God observes that no helper who fits him is found. And so what he needs is his complement. He needs someone who fits him. And so this isn't just sexual complementarity. This is also like an emotional complementarity. It's a physical complementarity. It's a complementarity of work and roles, so that when God brings them together, you get the first recorded words of mankind, at last, bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. There's goodness and safety within that complementarity. So the two of them are more than just two people brought into relationship. So man and woman together are the way in which the two become one flesh. The two together build a home, build a neighborhood around the home, and all of that depends upon their complementarity, right? And so we spoke of emotional complementarity. Every child knows this naturally, and that is, that's a thing. God, even just pure nature should teach us of this complementarity. We should know that the only way a new life is brought into the world is in the union of a sperm and an egg, right? From man and from woman is the only way that happens. And a child has a biological, natural law kind of right to these two complementary parents, not just generally two adults to raise him, but two parents, so that, when you fall off your bike and skin your knee, you then have a choice, presumably, which parent you're going to go to. And because they are complementary and not interchangeable, there's no sameness between mom and dad, you might pick the parent who is more nurturing, who is more tender in that moment. If you run to dad, he might just tell you to rub some dirt on it.
Yeah.
Which is necessary, right? I mean, and again, biology just teaches this. So the parent in the state of Illinois, we our birth certificates say we have a birthing parent and a non-birthing parent. I kid you not. It's the most horrible thing in the world. So the one who has given life to this child is always going to be more nurturing. But the one who has stood outside, whose masculinity calls him outside of himself, will always be sort of beckoning the child out into the world, calling him to take risks, to learn how to navigate the world around him. And that's necessary. A child needs both. So those are, broadly speaking, the two competing worldviews. And I would say egalitarianism is just dull and gray. Like if you look at the world, and every human being is interchangeable one with another, there's no nuance. There's no beauty there. There's no compelling story there. But with a complementarian worldview, where men and women are different, and there's excitement, there's beauty, there's goodness, there's thrill when a man and woman are brought together. That's a worldview that sees the world in color, and not in the dull grayness of egalitarianism. So those are your two competing worldviews. And we obviously in the fall see Adam being an egalitarian, right? When the serpent comes to Eve, he should have stomped his head right there, but he doesn't. He lets Eve respond to the devil with the word of God. He's the first one to allow a woman preacher. If Adam can use the word, then Eve can wield the word just the same. And when it comes time to bear responsibility for sin, again, a complementarian would say, as Christ does for his bride, the church, it's all my fault. It's all on me. Take all of her sin and her shortcoming and credit that to me, and I will pay the price for that. Instead, Adam says, the woman whom you gave to me, she gave to me and I ate.